I'm Anthony. Let me share a little about myself. I was born in Los Angeles and I went to school in Northern California. I had a very strong interest in the medical field since I was a child. I was in advanced classes in high school that allowed me to earn college credit and high school credit at the same time. I did clinical rotations throughout hospitals to experience and shadow every department at every job level. I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist until I actually shadowed one. I thought maybe I want to be an orthopedic or plastic surgeon instead. During one of my rotations in the ER in my junior year, I assisted in treating a nosebleed on a lady. And later that summer, I applied to do some volunteer work at a local nursing home for more experience. The director of the nursing home met with me and said, "You're the doctor that saved my nose." I assured her that I wasn't the doctor and I was still in high school. She convinced me to consider getting a CNA license or a certified nursing assistant so I could work in the nursing home. And that's exactly what I did during my senior year. I got my CNA, which convinced me even more that I wanted to be a surgeon and not so much a nurse. I then turned to the Air Force for their medical programs and education benefits. I enlisted as a surgical technician. In my basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, Phase 1 training at Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas, and Phase 2 training at Travis Air Force Base in California, I was awarded a Leadership Award and Academic Excellence Award. I was stationed at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was awarded another Academic Excellence Award in my career development courses and upgrade trainings. I volunteered every year to assist with doing blood draws for cadet in processing, where we would draw blood on over 1,000 cadets in a day. I then started getting pulled for special projects. At first, I was put on a decon team, which was a team responsible for handling various kinds of chemical, biological, radioactive, nuclear, or explosive events that require containment and decontamination. Then I started getting pulled from those trainings and assigned to security forces. And me not knowing the wiser, I qualified on everything that they put me against. I started getting tasked with longer and longer assignments. I would work with security forces for months at a time. I trained with SWAT on building clearing, riot control, active shooter response, and whenever I could get back into surgery, I would get pulled into even more projects. I was pulled to open and manage a GI and general surgery clinic with the hospital on base. I was assigned to manage 2 clinics with 3 providers, 2 nurses, and 4 technicians. And within 6 months, I had the most profitable and streamlined clinics running at the academy. I was managing more than 15 programs and coordinating surgeries at multiple hospitals on and off base. I would then get pulled back into security forces to work at various locations, checkpoints, controlled access areas, and patrols of various parts of the base. Then I was pulled back into the hospital to go into the sterile processing department to update the SOPs and work instructions in preparation for very important accreditation inspections. The hospital was going to go through some of the most rigorous and white glove inspections there are in healthcare. My department was going to be inspected by the state board, the accreditation inspection for surgery centers at the national level, and by the Joint Commission, the big one for all healthcare facilities in the nation for both civilian and DoD. I received a perfect score for my department in all 3 levels. I received orders to deploy as a combat medic attached to a joint special forces team in Terracotta, Afghanistan, which is a forward operating base of the lot. But I had a medical waiver on my profile because I'm allergic to a certain type of surgical gown and glove. I require specific brands and materials of my PPE. My commander said, "You're not special in the desert. You get what we give you. And we can't have our medic go into anaphylactic shock while trying to save someone's life because of the brand of gloves he puts on." So I was stamped as non-deployable and medically retired. My NCOIC said he would write a letter of recommendation for any of his troops, but he was going to make a phone call for someone for me. He called an old friend that was a CEO of a surgical instrument and medical device consulting company. They hired me directly as a clinical consultant. Before I even finished the 6 weeks training at headquarters in Ohio, I was making sales and landing contracts. I was put into an undeveloped sales territory in central Illinois, and within a year, I had the highest sales of a 6-state region. I set records within the company for the highest monthly sales in the Midwest. Then I was diagnosed with cancer. After treatment and recovery, I wanted to change the pace. I left my consulting job and used my GI Bill to go to school full time. I wanted to do something with computers, programming, and security. So secure software development seemed like a great fit. I excelled in every class and made the president's list for maintaining a perfect 4.0 GPA. Then the headhunters started reaching out to me. My savings were running thin, and the GI Bill just wasn't enough to survive on. I eventually accepted a position as a department supervisor for a surgical implant, manufacturing, and medical device repair company. I was responsible for creating training programs, writing work instructions and SOPs for an ISO 13485 medical device certification, and running the department using Lean and Six Sigma strategies. My department was primarily Russian engineers that spoke very little English and were very resistant to change or new ideas or concepts. I wanted to earn their respect and understand them better, so I started learning how to speak Russian. I asked questions about their culture, I met with their families, ate their food, and attended a few services at a Russian church. It took only a short time for me to gain their trust and to get past the resistance. One of the engineers that had been there for over 25 years originally said that he would quit if anyone tried to move his workstation out of the corner of the department. That corner of the department was known as Vladimir's area. He wouldn't talk to anyone and no one was allowed in his area. And within the year, I had him working right next to me in front of the department. At that time, I had to use 4 different software platforms for job order tracking, labor tracking, time card tracking, and for financial tracking for managing the department's P&L reports. And none of the software programs communicated with each other. And so I wrote my own software with 1,200 lines of code that linked all 4 platforms together to drill down the productivity and profit margins of each individual tech on every job that they worked on. And with my program, I was able to identify weak points and redirect resources or retraining to streamline those areas. While all this was going on, there were some disagreements between our CEO and all of our field-based reps and techs. We had a mass exodus of our entire field team all at once. I was asked to lead the department and help out as much as I can because I had experience with sales and as a consultant in the field. So I took 3 of our company vehicles and I parked them in Tacoma, Spokane, and one in Santa Rosa, California. I would then jump on a flight every other night and work in each of our customer locations. Then one of our other reps lost all of his accounts. He had nothing left. And he had seniority over me with 30 plus years in the company, so the CEO gave him my accounts. I was then asked to go back to the lab as general labor technician because the supervisor position had already been refilled. So I took a field position in Southern California with another company named Northfield Medical. Northfield was acquired by Agility a few years ago, so we have gone through a name change. Around 2 years ago, Agility submitted an IPO, and now we are publicly traded and we are a $1 billion corporation. I am honored to have been part of the growth, acquisition, and transitions we have made. I know I have made a difference in the lives of patients, the care provided by healthcare facilities, and the stake our shareholders have invested. From my family to yours,
we are sending love
and positive vibes.